You can do exciting music on that.
So today we're doing our air conditioning install. I have a Dometic RTX 2000 that we're going to put on the roof. There's not much information on it because it's fairly new and not many people have used it. There's only one other YouTube video that I've seen where it's actually doing an install, and so I'll give his name down here. So here's our template size. The instructions are designed for a truck, and so it's a really big dimension that they give, and they give a template that's way too big, much more than we need. So here's it's a 14-inch by 14.5 inch, so just a ½ inch taller than or wider than a max air fan, or lengthwise, I'm sorry. So if you have a fan already installed, you can just extend the hole a ½ inch on front to back, and the unit should drop right in. So I've marked the halfway point on here. I'm going to install it right over the bed area. So this is kind of the middle of the van, and so I've just kind of laid this up in here, and you can see that's close enough to where it'll fit inside there, and it's going to be this whole rib structure here that I'm going to cut out. Okay, I'm just connecting the holes where I'm going to drill out. So the challenging part is getting this up there with just me and my wife. So we have 2 ladders. We set a board up across. We tried getting it up here and maybe pulling from the top, but it was a little bit too sketch. So we put the cover back on it and taped that down with packing tape to hold it in. Now we're going to stand it this way and then pull it up. That should be better. So one other thing you have to do on here, you have to install the threads where they mount. So they come in the bags, and this one goes in number 6, that's the M8, and the smaller one goes in number 7. So you have to screw those in to those holes. I think that this one is for the shroud. So probably if you're not going to install the shroud, you don't have to worry about that. That's a 5mm hex, and then they include a hex for this one that I'll use the impact driver to put in. Just be careful, don't strip it out. Okay, got the screws in there, the threads. So one is for the struts that, this one is for the struts that hold it to the roof, and this one is for the shroud. I may not put the shroud in there because it's pretty huge, but at least I'll have the screw holes in there. Right. Okay, so it turns out that my template was a little bit too big. I have this DeWalt engineer scale measuring tape, and this always bites me. These are tenths, not inches, and so I measured out to here when I should have measured to here. So my hole was a 1/2 inch too wide on all the sides, but it's okay in this case because the actual hole that they called for was much bigger. So instead of drilling holes, I just cut these little divots out for the screws that clamp to here, and then this is for the pass-through for the wiring. So I'm not going to use this tape anymore. It's bitten me more times than I can count. So I put down some butyl tape in the grooves here to level it out, and then I have to put a gasket around, and then once we get that in, we'll set the air conditioner in, and then we'll put sealant around. I think the gasket requires butyl caulk on the top of it, so between the air conditioner and the gasket. So they have 2 gaskets in the box. This is one that's not on the inventory list, and then there's another smaller one over there that's much thinner, and that one is on the inventory list. And I talked to Ben Bodie, who's the other guy who installed it on a Sprinter, and he said that he used this one, even though it didn't, he used it sideways. So it has its own sticky, so I'm not sure if I should mount it sideways like he did, or if I should mount it upright, or if I should just use the regular gasket. So I thought this seal had a glue underneath it because it had a pull off side, but it's not sticky at all. So I'm using 3M Window Weld. We'll see how that works. Okay, so we got it on here. The seam has to go in the back so that if any water is rushing in, it doesn't tend to go through the seam. I glued in between the seam. The next is to apply butyl caulk on the top of this, and then put the unit over on top of it.
Okay, so we put boards across the length of it, and then we put weights on it to hold the rubber down, and now we're going to give it time to cure.
Okay, so I put lap sealant around the outer edge just to further try and waterproof it.
Show the tube.
So I'll do a little on the inside here too, since I still have some left. Just for these little butyl spots here. So they require a butyl sealant on the top between the gasket and the unit.